That night he sat on the cold floor of his one-room flat, the ceiling above him a pale witness to every broken dream. Outside, the city moved on, lights flickering, people laughing, but inside his world, everything had gone mute. He remembered a time not long ago when his hands trembled with excitement, not fear, when he had a steady job that respected him, and a hunger to prove himself to the world. He had been full of promise. He had plans. He had a future. Then the accident happened. The hospital walls might as well have been made of ice when the doctor said, "Your legs. I'm afraid they won't respond." The words landed on him like a verdict. A young man with a bright future was now confined to a wheelchair. And the world, which once applauded his efforts, slowly began to look away. First came whispers. Then distance. His parents stopped coming. They called once, then never again. His friends, the same people who had toasted his small victories, disappeared as if a curtain had been pulled between them and his life. Relatives who had always sat close at family gatherings found reasons to be busy. One by one, people who once promised to stand by him left. There was only one small hand that still reached for his little sister's. She was only a child, but she carried more courage than anyone he knew. She sat beside him in the quiet nights and held his hand when the cold fear of loneliness crept in. He thought of the job he had before the accident, a respectful position that had made him proud. He had been learning, improving, dreaming bigger. Yet after the accident, when he returned to the office with a trembling hope, they said bluntly, "We need someone fit for the duties. We can't keep someone who can't perform physically." They terminated him without looking at the person he still was inside. In their eyes, his disability had become the only thing that mattered. Crushed, abandoned, he felt his life dissolve into darkness. The pain was more than physical, it was a swallowing of self-worth. He wanted to end it all. For nights he sat at the edge of oblivion, thinking about leaving a world that had stopped caring. But his little sister refused to let him go. One evening she placed a messy, paint-stained notebook on his lap. Inside were her childish drawings and a single line, written with a stubborn smile. "Brother, you are my hero. I believe you will do great things." Something in him cracked open, not with despair this time, but with a fragile, stubborn ember of hope. He remembered the things he loved, the brush that once felt like an extension of his hand, the afternoons spent painting colors that made him forget fear, the evenings when he would tinker with a computer, learning to make simple graphics and typing until his fingers ached. He had skills that did not depend on his legs. He could paint. He could work on a computer. He could learn to earn. So he began. From his wheelchair he painted small canvases, pouring every memory, every sorrow, and every tiny joy into color. He uploaded photos of his art, learned basic graphic design, and began offering tutorials online. At first his earnings were tiny, a few dollars here and there, but his sister celebrated every rupee as if it were gold. She saved, she planned, she reminded him of the promise, "Earn now, fix later." Days turned into weeks of relentless learning. He recorded short lessons, sold paintings, accepted commissions, and slowly his reputation grew. People who found him online were moved by the honesty in his work, the pain, the resilience, the beauty. Orders increased. With each sale, his hope swelled. When he earned enough, they did not rush into treatment like a fairy-tale cure, but they started the medical planned therapies, specialists, the long road of rehabilitation. Each physiotherapy session was grueling. His body refused, then learned. Again. His muscles shivered, then tightened. His hope steadied, then soared. He made progress, tiny steps of recovery, and his sister's face lit up with every small victory. Years later, at a modest clinic ceremony, he took the first shaky steps with a walking aid. The same city that had turned away now watched in stunned silence as he moved forward. He had not only reclaimed his mobility, he had reclaimed his dignity. His parents, who had left, stood ashamed in the crowd. Friends who had deserted him watched quietly from the edges. But it was his sister who ran forward first, tears streaking down her cheeks, and hugged him until they both choked with sobs. He did not become famous overnight. He did not build an empire in a day. But he had built something far greater, an unbreakable spirit and a life that taught others how to rise. He opened a small online school to teach painting and digital skills to people who were overlooked, disabled, or desperate. He hired those who had been rejected by others, giving them a platform to earn, to heal, to hope. On stage, years later, he told his story with a voice that trembled but did not break. They said I was broken. They said I was useless. They left me when I needed them. But one small hand kept pulling me back from the edge. All is not lost. The applause was loud, but what he felt was quieter and truer, a steady peace that comes when you know you did not surrender. He had painted his way back to life. He had typed his future into existence. He had turned humiliation into purpose. When the world abandons you, be the one who refuses to leave yourself. Pain can break you or it can make you. All is not lost.